All right, Coach Schumann back. We've had a 1 week off. I think 1 week, right?
Little hiatus.
Yeah. So we're back at it. We got a great guest today, a college coach that we're going to talk to. I think probably the first female coach at William Paterson is my guess.
That would be my assumption. Is pretty much probably the first female coach across maybe all of Division III, possibly maybe the NJAC conference itself. I mean, definitely a trailblazer in her own right.
Yes. So I guess we'll find that out. We'll talk some football, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a great podcast. We've had some really, really great guests lately. So this is another great guest that we're looking forward to talking. Let's bring her on right now. What's going on, Kristi? How you doing?
Hi, guys. How we doing?
Hey, Kristi, how are you? Thanks for coming out and talking with us a little bit this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, listen, Kristi Zick coaches at William Paterson University. Used to be William Paterson College when I was.
You're showing your age, brother. You're showing your age.
Puppy. But William Paterson University.
You do that every time, man. Right away. Come on, man. I'm trying to give you a little benefit of the doubt.
The grades give it away anyway. So
you and me both, brother.
Yeah. So So William Paterson University. We briefly mentioned one of the probably first female coaches at Division III level. She could clarify that for us if that is indeed the case. But she started coaching in high school and moved her way up to college. And so we're really excited to have her on. She's position coach as well. And welcome, Kristi, to the podcast.
Thank you guys so much. Pleasure to be here. So,
all right, well,
yeah, definitely. Not the first female coach across D3, which is pretty crazy. I think it's not. Yeah, probably not a well-known thing, but there are a good handful of female position coaches across D3, and just kind of doing our job. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that we're not super loud about that. A lot of us, it's a big factor that we like to be, and by us I mean female position coaches. We like to be kind of just included in what is considered as the mass of coaches. So not so much like we have exactly this many female coaches in this division and this many running backs, female position coaches, for example. I think we just, we're coaches. So I think a lot of us aren't necessarily super loud about that, but yeah, the recognition's kind of cool, I guess.
Very cool. You started in high school coaching. Give a little football background for everybody, so if people understand how you got into coaching, anything associated with football, so we can understand how you got there and to where you are right now.
Sure. So, football to me, my whole philosophy I say this to my athletes and I say this to people who ask this question in general. Football to me is family. I've coached lacrosse before. I coached on and off track, strength and conditioning coaching, things like that. And as great as it is, and every sport has their pros and cons in its own right, there's just nothing like the football environment, the family aspect of it, the brotherhood of it, male or female. And so that I growing up around football, I definitely kept coming back to it. I'm a mom of a 3-year-old, so I had my daughter during COVID. And after coming out of the whole COVID, adjustments and things like that, kind of, I'm a new mom now looking to figure out what my career path is really going to be. Definitely stuck with athletics and very quickly came back to football after doing track for a little while. So that was a pretty clear decision for me. And there's just kind of no turning back from that when you love it the way that we do, and you're involved in it. Now, when I started at the high school level, and that was over at DePaul Catholic, shout out to Coach Camp and the awesome staff over there. Not a bad place to start. Oh man, I was so privileged to start out there. And I make that very clear all the time, to be able to say that that's where I even began learning the coaching side of football. Under Coach Camp's staff was, I mean, we went to the state championships my first year. At the end of my first year of coaching football, I was able to compete at MetLife Stadium. So, I mean, super, super fantastic experience. And when you start with something like that, there's no question about continuing in that right. So, and then, I had a good relationship with Coach Jerry Flora, who was the head coach at William Paterson, as you guys know, for years and years. And he introduced me to Coach Sean Williams, who is now my head coach for the second year. And, again, fantastic experiences, just confirms everything that I thought I loved about football. Amazing athletes I get to work with, great kids, and led me to where I am now.
Very cool. And you're coaching positionally the receivers, or what position?
Yeah, so
are you
last
coaching?
year, right now, running backs. This is my first year with the running backs.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So what were some of the things that you did to really get yourself? So you coach lacrosse, you coach track and field, transitioning over to football. What did you have to do to really get your knowledge base where you thought you felt comfortable coaching guys, coaching college athletes? From that standpoint, what were some of the things that you really had to do to get your learning up to speed?
Pay very close attention to what everybody is saying and doing. I think in my first year of coaching, I tried to stick with my position more than anything, which was receivers at DePaul Catholic. And I found once I started paying attention to what coordinators were doing as a whole, what the line was doing, and not just what the receiver, not just what say our routes were, I was paying attention to the bigger picture of everything. And it's funny because I was told in the beginning, okay, focus on what you need to focus on and get really good at that first. And you don't really learn too much about what's going on the rest of the field when you're trying to approach it from that, from that point of view. So started really paying, like I would attend the position meetings of other positions. I would just hang around different position coaches and see what they were thinking, what they were doing with certain things, watch other people's film. That, backing up and looking at the bigger picture definitely allowed me to soak in a lot more, a lot faster. And then in the off season, I would go attend clinics for different positions. I worked a lot with Coach Rogers and his defensive backs, and that taught me a heck of a lot about receivers after coaching receivers for a year. You know what I mean? So looking at it from different points of views, and now working with the running backs, we attend O-line meetings. I mean, it's that was definitely the way to go for me.
Interesting. The learning curve in football is well, there's always new things you can learn no matter how long you've been coaching. And it's interesting to hear how someone's learning curve projects to be able to grow, especially someone who did you play football at all, or I'm just curious, or like
I did not.
Right. So from a learning curve standpoint, that's an important thing, and that's really interesting to hear you like take on the whole, not just your position, but but understand the game, which I think is a critical part in each position and what they're doing to start to understand the commonalities to it, and the things that you can continue to translate. What are some of the things that you really try to do from a coaching standpoint that you think really help your players kind of maximize what they're doing on the field? What are some of the kind of philosophies that you have?
So everything that we do, make sure that it really applies to what's going on in the game. As a strength and conditioning coach, I think I began approaching football coaching from a technique standpoint. So working with receivers, we like to do a lot of footwork and, things that people laugh at receivers doing in 7-on-7 programs. They laugh when receivers dance around and things like that. And I think I focused a lot on that. What I've learned and what I like to do now, I like to approach it more from a, applicable on the field standpoint. So, when we're in Indy and things like that, I like to we'll take a specific install that we're doing and focus on that in Indy rather than, okay, like we'll set up a drill. Okay, here's the technique to approach this play, this footwork for the running backs, but where are our eyes going also? How are we going to approach the contact when we get through the line? And not so much just, this is how you run, but here's how we're going to run with the ball in our eyes, So that's, I definitely like to work with my players on that kind of level now, for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. Aspirationally, like, so you're coaching football, you're in college, there's recruiting to it. There's a whole bunch. You're a new mom, well, relatively new mom. What are some of the things that are your goals from a coach's standpoint? Are you kind of continue to push the path? You want to be a position coach? What are some of the things that are your goals from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah, so that's definitely something I kind of feel out as I go, but I think the bigger picture is becoming more clear recently, that this is what I'm doing now is definitely more the direction I would like to go than I thought in the past. Previously, I kind of planned on approaching athletics from a more strength and conditioning route, because that was more my experience. I worked as a trainer for years and years before I got into, being on the field itself. And then, that became, the strength and conditioning became more of an off-season thing. And I realized how much I love being on the field and being involved with the athletes and watching them develop as student athletes in particular. So that was really interesting. And that's an aspect that obviously you don't really get on the training side. So now, being where I'm at, I definitely plan to try to make it work to move forward as a position coach. It's a big balance between financial situations, family life, experience. So it's definitely taking each of those things and trying to find the balance. But right now, being able to do what I do and love it as much as I love doing it, this is definitely, moving forward with this would be the goal.
Really cool. Now, let's talk some recruiting. So, I always get around to this. So, from an
we always get back to this, right? We always come. This is always how everything comes full circle. This is where it's at, because we want our athletes to see it from different perspectives. So, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, from a recruiting standpoint, I'm curious. William Paterson used to be, let's get players that some of them are D3 players, some of the guys that fall through the cracks, maybe could have went maybe a little bit higher. Like you guys have one of our guys that used to play for the Bulwark Bees, Connor Reynolds, is a freshman there now. And so from a recruiting standpoint, with the transfer portal and everything, how does William Paterson approach it? Because there's a lot of ways you could do it, and D3 is one of the toughest, I think, things with respect to transfer portal, because if someone transfers to D3, and we talked about this, who did we talk about this with, Derek? Who's the
Coach
D3?
Garrett?
Yes, Coach Garrett. So when we talked to Coach Garrett over at Keene, one of the toughest parts that he mentioned was, you get a guy to in the old days, before the transfer portal, you got, if a guy didn't work out at FCS, and Montclair or William Paterson or Rowan, any NJAC school said, hey, here's an opportunity for you to be a starter, maybe be a star, play some good football, the guys would jump on it. But now with the transfer portal, every guy thinks that they should be upgrading on the transfer. And if they transfer, they're not as quote unquote happy. They're transferring to you because they maybe, I don't know, a lot of cases don't have as many choices as it's a little bit different than it used to be. Right. So how do you guys approach recruiting from a transfer standpoint? I saw, obviously, the big focus was on high school players, right? So that was what I saw was the main focus, right? Just looking at like your feed, on one of your Twitter feed, and you got guys from West Orange, you got Connor, you got guys who are really good players for whatever reason, are a Division III, but high school players, whereas opposed to higher levels, half those guys are transfers. What's kind of William Paterson's approach to it all?
Yeah, so right now last year we had a lot of elite seniors graduate and move on. This year we have a lot of seniors that are going to be moving on. So right now the goal, more than focusing on transfer portal and things like that, has been bringing in younger guys, looking to build them, looking to incorporate them into, our culture and build more that way. So we do have a lot of fantastic young talent right now who are so amazing. They've been developing incredibly, super coachable, super open to learning from their seniors who are about to leave. Like right now, like for example, our O-line specifically, all of them are gone next year. So we have a brand new, very young, very athletic line that just came in. Now we have a couple transfers in, but that's more of a location situation for them,
Right.
family here and there type of, what I mean, type of thing. So not so much. We really don't focus too much on the portal because right now, in young guys who we can really build up into our culture.
Right.
See, I think that's that's a total, Derek, monumental shift in Division III because it was completely the other way around.
100%.
For Division III,
it was looked at as almost like a negative. I mean, think about it. So I went to Montclair State. I was a transfer in, right? Family situation after my freshman year at Sacred Heart. No negative reason for leaving Sacred Heart other than a family situation personal to me that I needed to be closer to home. So right. Montclair State just so happened to just be a landing point where, hey, I had talked to this guy during recruiting, and I think that's a very pivotal part for some of these transfers in the portal. You develop that relationship with some of these guys coming out of high school, and maybe they don't go to William Paterson right away, and they go off to, UMass, Boston College, or, Penn State, one of these Rutgers, maybe even a lower level like a Townsend or something like that, where now all of a sudden something happens, a situation comes up, they have to come home, yet they still want to stay involved. Hey, Willie P, hey, buddy, how you doing? Heard about the situation? You've already have that relationship that now those guys come to you. Well, but you're right. Totally 100% right, Coach, where back in the day when I transferred from Sacred Heart to Montclair State, it was looked at, he wasn't good enough to get it done at Sacred Heart, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now he's going to go play D3. Now it's hey, I just was an All-American at a D3. How do I transfer and go somewhere bigger?
Right. So that it's the other way around. And the
you really have to recruit.
And the development I thought was a really interesting point because in D3, other than like that used to be a kind of thing, was like you wanted D3 players that were able to come in and be the best player they could right away. Whereas now at D3, you could get high school players and develop them because of the fact that it's, all these guys are fighting at FCS and FBS all over these guys, and they're moving back and forth and all that kind of stuff. Whereas you could develop your guys. Now, yes, maybe, I don't know, one out of 100 guys becomes really good and he wants to move up or something like that. But my guess is there's not that many of that. My guess is at D3 that you might have a couple of guys, maybe a year, that are looking to move up. Maybe. But for the most part, you can actually take the time and develop them. Whereas in the past, you wanted to get, Derek DePascal to come back to Montclair State because he was an FCS guy. He didn't have to sit out a year. He comes right in. He's playing right away. And now I got an FCS guy on my D3 roster. D3 rosters were loaded with those guys back. That's what the NJAC was big on, right?
Correct. Bounce back guys. It was like,
dealer.
Yeah. I do look at it like this, though, and Kristi, you touched on it a little bit, is culture, right? So if you develop that culture at Willie P, listen,
you can develop it now.
I have guys on my staff that, you know, that I've been there. My father's an alum from William Paterson. Look, the location of where it is amazing, yet it's just always kind of William Paterson, right? But I think, look, Coach Williams, he's been there a long time, a really long time. He, you know, he's very well deserving of the position that he's in now. I think he understands the NJAC because he's been in it for so long as a DC. He played at a high level, NFL guy, you know. And I think that if that culture continues to develop, Kristi, and you could touch on this a little bit about the culture itself, you know, I think that you can really progress going upwards in the NJAC that is now.
Right. Absolutely. It definitely, like you said, Coach Williams has been there long enough to see William Paterson go through a few different stages. And that's for obviously a variety of reasons. But what he is focused on right now is very much, it very much requires us to be able to bring in young guys who are going to be open to what we are trying to do.
Right.
I see what you're saying about how it used to be the other way around, especially, you know, with something like transfers or now the transfer portal. But right now where we're at with what Coach Williams is trying to do with that connotation that tends to come with William Paterson, like you said, Coach, just, you know, Willie P, this and that, you know, what he's doing with the program right now, what he's been doing the past couple of years, we're bringing in the young guys who are so coachable and so athletic, but also willing to improve on what they have, tends to work out better for us right now than trying to bring in guys who this is what I am, this is what I can do, and that's
right.
the deal.
That's
you
a
know,
great
that's
point.
That's not going to be right. That's not going to be as beneficial for us as other approaches may be. So
right, that's more of the hey, we can win now with this guy here, or we can look to the future, bring in people that are our guys, get them engulfed in our culture, and then we can kind of rock with that.
Right.
Yeah,
Trust the process. It's hard. Trust the process.
I think that's a big deal too, because you're not going to get transfers. You're not going to get transfers anymore that are going to be happy.
Right.
Not too many. I mean, you have guys that maybe for location.
Right. For other reasons, they're happy to just be playing ball. You know what I'm saying?
No,
so,
right. I think that's a big shift in Division III. Well, the NJAC is always
yes, it's really always an interesting entity, just because they also place certain rules on, you know, how many kids you can have on your roster or how many of that. I mean, you're also looking at William Paterson, which is also really kind of started academically to really kind of push the envelope a little bit more. So academics there, you know, kind of play a role into who can come into the school and whatnot.
Yep.
At William 100%. Paterson.
Buddy, don't you know it's like Harvard?
You can get anybody you wanted to William Paterson.
It's Harvard.
Come
on, man. I'm trying
to they're good enough. You can get them in the Willie P.
Listen, buddy, you're talking to a Montclair guy. Like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to say as many nice things as I possibly can here. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't. The old man is still an alum from there, you know, so I got to give him his kudos somewhere.
Coach, you'd be surprised. That's definitely the you know, the common knowledge is like, oh yeah, it's not, you know, academically speaking, that's not too tough. You'd be surprised how many young guys we've had to say, okay, can I see your, you know, do you have your unofficial transcript? Send it over before. And all of a sudden, you know, you lose certain people that are, you don't have what you need to get into William Paterson, my friend. We're working with, you know, a situation, you know.
Yeah.
I had to get that in.
You got a lot bigger problems than coming to school here.
Well, my wife went to William Paterson. My wife went to William Paterson. So
yeah, there you go.
My wife went to William Paterson. So I can clip that and just say that I was busting William Paterson's chops. Because I have to bust chops on William Paterson as much as I can because my wife went to William Paterson. And by the way, she's much more successful than I am. So, so there you go.
No, I mean, amazing school with some really amazing programs if it's being utilized. But kids that try to come in because of what they've heard about William Paterson, and you think, all right, now hold on, it's not like that. You know, it's. So there are times,
right? And it's like, and you got to get guys on campus,
which is great. Which is really like just like Montclair, Keene, William Paterson. I mean, churns out. They churn out great teachers and coaches. I mean, that's like business is the other one that's really good at Wayne Paterson. But
yes, huge.
Great. But originally Wayne Paterson, I mean, my aunt went to Wayne Paterson, my mother went to Wayne Paterson. So and so I'm familiar, and it churns out like great teachers and coaches. That's always what what it has always churned out. And that's one of the great things. And a lot of times football players make great teachers and coaches and make excellent business people. So those are the two things that William Paterson, I would guess, is really most probably known for, right?
Yeah. Huge on the business program. Huge on the business program for sure.
Especially where it is. I mean, northern New Jersey.
Oh yeah, and you're talking Wayne, which is like a hub. I mean, you have four of the top high schools in the state right there in your own town. You know what I mean? You hit Wayne Hills, Wayne Valley, PCT, and DePaul, and you pull 3 or 4 kids from each. I think your roster is going to be okay.
And Ramapo, and Indian Hills,
right? Because you're
right around the corner,
right there, right over the hill.
You don't realize that Passaic County
so
and Bergen County is right on the border there.
Yeah,
so it's very cool.
I have a question, quick.
Yeah,
do you specify, like, I know how you guys kind of break it down recruiting wise? Is each coach given a area, like a county?
Yes. Yep. That's how we break it down.
Nice. Okay. And I was just curious, what is your county?
I assist with DMV, and I do Rockland County, New York. Nice.
See, yeah, I see. That's also interesting. That's branching out outside of New Jersey, man. You go over that hill. Well, I mean, come on, Coach Flora up there at Sleepy Hollow kind of got the best mascot in the country, bro. Headless horseman on a real horse riding out. Come on, dude. If you don't win those games, I don't know what's going on. But a lot of hidden gems up there. It's nice to see and hear that, Willie P's kind of branching off and kind of recruiting some different areas to kind of pull some of those kids in.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a huge point that was made in our shift of culture as well. When Coach Williams.
Hello?
Oh. Frozen.
I
mean, listen, Coach Williams been there a while.
There we go. You're back. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I lost you guys.
No, you're good. You're fine.
I don't know what
you
the
were saying the shifting culture.
That was a big point was branching out and pulling guys from different areas, different talent, because it's not just I think all colleges face a certain requirement when it comes to demographic and kids from different areas and diversity and things like that. So obviously that's a big part of it. New Jersey being a massively diverse state in and of itself, it's not too hard to pull different talent that way. However, I think right now in different areas and I'm talking statewide, I think coaching cultures vary so much that a big part of it for us is not just so much demographic. It's who has this guy been coached by? What are they doing down in Maryland? Baltimore particularly. What are they doing out in Virginia? What are we doing up in New York? Right now, we have a good handful of freshmen from New York because of what they're doing over there, football wise, coaching wise at the high school level. So pulling guys from different areas, that's a big part of it for us as well, because these kids have experienced different things in terms of staffing and coaching, and we like to see what they bring to the table and not just so much what we know as North Jersey football or South Jersey football, because they do have their own cultures. So that's a big part of it for us as well. Branching out has become necessary, I believe.
Well, I noticed too that you've had in New Jersey now, outside of New Jersey, it looks like public, private school. You have a mix, but that are coming in. But in New Jersey in particular, it looks like you guys have a lot of success with the public school kids. And is there anything to that? Is that a focus at all? Or, do you feel like you could find more diamonds in the rough from that standpoint?
I don't necessarily believe that we look at it that way. What kind of athletes are produced from public school versus private school, as much as it is, situations for them. On their end, it's more financial situations, again, family situations when they come in. Another big thing that we see when kids come to us, more than when we, kids that we approach, but kids that approach us, athletes, I should say, that approach us, public versus private, a lot of it has to do with playing time.
Of
So
course.
therefore experience. So that's a big part of it. So a lot of times we'll get guys coming from public schools who did not have very limited, they had more playing time, and they'll come to us with, this is how I perform, and this is what I can do, and they'll have a little more film and things like that. And so that's very different from recruiting someone that's coming from a private school who maybe had an amazing starting lineup, who didn't have as much playing time, doesn't have as much film. And, sometimes they're different in terms of coaching them and growing them. And so having that mix is definitely important. But no, we don't, going back to your question, no, we don't necessarily recruit looking at public versus private. It's very much the character of the kids and what they say they're bringing to the table and what they can prove they're bringing to the table.
Interesting. From a recruiting standpoint, what have you found to be the hardest positions to get players in today's age, and what have you found to be the easiest to find more players in?
So we have a massively new linebacker room. So we definitely got a lot of now it's, I don't know that that's because they were easier to recruit. It's because we were in major need of some backers. But we have a totally green linebacker room, and they're fantastic guys, developing very well. Running backs are tough to get, a quality running back.
It's we have, Kristi, we have this conversation all the time about if there's one position that really is on strain right now, especially, is the running back position. It is hard to find running backs just in general. No, it's difficult.
Yep. Well, I think it's a matter of keeping them healthy at a young age. So trying to get healthy guys. Running backs is a tough position to maintain. They have so much responsibility on the field. And so staying healthy through a high school career and then coming into college healthy and keeping them and trying to find you guys, that's a tough position. O-line as well, for the same exact reasons. Trying to keep them, we're in need of some O-line guys. Like I said, our entire O-line's graduated.
Always.
Fortunately, we have some quality guys that just came in, but that's tough to find healthy guys, athletic guys who are going to commit and stick around. They have to be mentally very committed because they have an extremely important job. Those are tough positions. Those are tough guys to come by.
I personally feel like the Division III in general, and Dave obviously played at UConn, so he was an FCS scholarship guy. Myself as a Division III player, I mean, listen, the retention and keeping guys a part of a program for 4 years is very, very rare. Things come up, right? There's nothing that's really keeping me at this school playing football other than I just love this game. You're not getting scholarship money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's basically a full-time job without any pay. You're doing it really out of the love of the game. So the retention, if you're not that guy that's in the spotlight, or, hey, I'm just a guy that's a backup or whatever, well, why am I doing this? What am I doing? I'm wasting my time, and then the injury thing on top of it, it's just really hard Division III without that scholarship to keep guys in the program. And that's where I think culture becomes a huge part of it. And now I'm biased because at Montclair State, you're talking tradition, right? You're talking same head coach for 30 something years. So the culture was already instilled when I got there, and now to get to take it and bring in these young guys that, hey, this is our culture, to keep them for all 4 years, very difficult thing to do.
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head there, because that is, we could say that for both at D3 schools and schools that can be tougher on funding, because that's, we've talked about this with our guys. When morale goes down at times, and their mentality seems to stray a little bit, it has to be addressed. That sometimes the ugly truth of this level and this division and is you're here because you love the game. You're not here on scholarship. You're not necessarily getting a full ride, and a lot of times, I know the objective of coaches at the high school level is to get their guys out to an education, an affordable education, and let that guide them through college. And that is the end goal, because not everybody's going to the pros. Not everybody's, and not everybody's going to get a full ride D1 education. But the goal, regardless of what level you're going to play at, typically is and should be to get your guys an affordable education and to see them through that degree. So at our level, the tough thing there is you're not necessarily going to get that scholarship. Some schools, it's not an option. You might not see a lot of playing time even, but the goal is you're gonna see it through as a commitment, and you're gonna grow as a young man, or whatever. At this point, it is commitment mentally and physically for the payoff of your education still, but it does not have as many perks as playing at a higher level. So that is definitely, culture does come into play there, like you said, Coach, because that is, at the end of the day, that's what you're going to stay committed. Now, if you don't love the game, you're not going to be at practice. You're not going to be at lifts. You're not going to be.
You're going to find every
yourself
excuse
through all of that. Mentally and physically, at the end of the day, it's what? Because you want to take the pictures for social media and
there
put
you
on.
Go. That's it. You want to be TikTok famous.
That's not going to get you through it. It's just not going to get you through it when that's all you're doing for. Football is way too much of a commitment, and way too 100%. Much of an impact physically and mentally to do something like that. So culture is so important at our level for that reason, and coaches alike. You're not getting paid you're not getting paid big bucks to be assistant positions coach with these guys. You're there because you love the game. You love your athletes. You love the purpose that it serves, so that's huge. Culture is huge there for sure.
Well, I think that's a huge deal. Keeping guys motivated. Like, I'm curious how you handle if a guy is division, and I'm saying this because I don't really understand that part of Division III. Like Derek said, you could hold a scholarship over me, and I was going to be in the weight room. I mean,
you may have a guy who's your starting corner on Saturday, and then come Tuesday, he's no longer on the team. Like, I've dealt with things like that. I mean, it's crazy. It's wild. It's almost like week to week.
How do you ride that balance of being demanding? But I guess there is a relation. There's a different relationship type of thing. Yes. Meaning like, it's more of a personal. Hey, get to the weight room, or you lose your scholarship. Okay, I'll be in the weight room. Like, you're going to be there. There's no question. Whereas
you can attest to it, Kristi. Like, so the way that I've seen it obviously handled is nothing is cookie cutter. Right. So everything is dealt with on a one-on-one basis in terms of, hey, this guy's got this thing going on. And listen, obviously for me, I'm biased because I had a personal situation, right? I leave one school to deal with something coming home. Right. And my coach at the Division III level was very understanding of that situation. Hey, buddy, I understand what's going on at home. You got to miss this. Okay. As long as those lines of communication continue and you don't abuse the privilege, I think that's where there's a little bit of a difference in terms of Division III is more, I don't want to say maybe personable rather than, hey, you're just a corner on my team. Right. You're one of my 86 scholarships or whatever I have here. You're just that. Kind of like the comparison of like, hey, you go into a class in a lecture hall, right? And you're just a social security number rather than, hey, you go into a classroom with 30 of you and I know your name.
Right.
So
it's definitely right.
Yeah, go ahead,
sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go.
Yeah, no. That's massive. I mean, if there's something that we can preach is definitely a pro of playing at the D3 level, it is that. It's that it's not so much a business interaction as it is a personal. Again, you're here because you love the sport. We're here because we love you guys. You know, that you don't necessarily. Now, I know some phenomenal, I know we all do, phenomenal coaches at the D1 pro level that are there because they love these guys, and this is just like they would do it for whatever reason. They just happen to be massively successful because they are so good at what they do. But
Right.
if at the D3 level, you can say, hey, you know, it's not just you need to make every single tackle you approach, and you need to score every single run you're running on. Otherwise, you know, you're putting up at risk here. That's not what we have at this level. This is not so much a business as it is at the higher level. However, to circle back around to, okay, how do we balance that then? How do you keep these guys disciplined, for lack of a better word, without anything to really, okay, I can't threaten your scholarship. I can't threaten your, you know, you could say, you know, and we do say, if you don't want to be here and you can't perform at the level that this team is asking you to perform at in order for us to succeed as a group, and you're an I person, you can walk. You know, and to the wrong guys, that's not going to mean much to them. If they walk, they walk. They didn't need to be here anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's not, we don't really focus on trying to keep everybody around and keep everybody in line, because if you're working that hard to keep a guy playing his game, he doesn't need to be here playing the game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So but the guys who do want to be there and perform and really put their all, you know, they want to commit, that's who you want anyway. So those guys, you don't necessarily have to ask. Now, are there situations where we have to say, late to this, late to that, didn't show up, what are we doing? Or in the classroom, class checks, you weren't there, what are we doing? Why does your GPA look like this? Now you're not eligible for the spring. Sure, you have to. I think the only way we really can approach that is to successfully is to sit down with them and say, what's your goal here? Because if this is how you're showing up or not showing up, and this is how you're performing, and this is what you're doing for your team or not doing for your team, do you want to be here? If not, we're not going to make you stay. We can't make you stay. We want you here. We'll always make that clear. If we recruited you, if you have a spot on the team, if you're a returner and you're still playing the position you want to be playing, you know, by the grace of the head coach, then we want you here, and we'll always make that clear. But, you know, we're not here to discipline you and make you do certain things in a way you to be performing with an attitude like you don't want to be here. You know, so that's kind of how we would approach that. And I think we're very open about our family culture and family mindset, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You're going to earn the trust of an athlete when you're honest with them and you're genuine with them. And at our level, that's what you have to do. And that's all you can do, because that is what it is. You know, we're not necessarily going pro. Does it happen? Yes. We're not necessarily going pro. You're not here on a.
Oh.
You guys lose me there again?
You're back.
You're good.
Okay. So, but you get what I'm saying there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's fantastic. I think that's a great way to end. That was really that's important stuff. That family relationship, the ability to develop the relationship with the players so they understand, you know, what's in it for them in the long run, while you're building the team and building the culture, and it's great stuff to hear. What can you share, whatever, before we let you go? What's your Twitter handle? Is probably the best way to get in touch with you, film, and all those kind of things. What's your Twitter handle?
Yep. So that's Coach K Zick, Zick. I think it's _ Coach K _ Zick, Zick.
Perfect. Coach,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on today. I learned a ton of things. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll hopefully see you guys. See you soon, and go Willie P.
Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Good
Thanks,
luck.
Coach. Have a great day.
All right.
See you, Coach.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right, that was great.
A lot of interesting stuff, man.
Learned a ton.
I mean, on the D3 level too, though. You know, like talking, you're looking at it. It's just hard, dude. You know what I'm saying?
What about Mount Union? I wonder if Mount Union has those issues.
Yeah, I wonder if Whitewater, right?
Or
like
Whitewater.
I wonder if UW Whitewater. I mean, listen, I also wonder what a Mount Union coach gets paid in comparison to a Willie P coach. You know, I'm not just talking assistants. I'm like head coach to assistants, like just staff members in general. How many? You know, Willie P. You know, Montclair has 3 full-time coaches. I wonder how many full-time coaches are at Mount Union.
That's a good question. I wonder what Mount Union.
You know, I mean, even you look at Keene, 3 full-time coaches. That's it, right? Maybe 2 GAs. You're talking a roster of 100-something kids, and you're policing it with 4 guys. Very interesting.
Let's see here. So, Larry Kears, who used to be the head coach, right? Or Kears? Or
where are we at? Who are we talking about?
Mount Union.
Right, he moved on. I think he might have gotten a Division I job.
Oh, okay. So this is older data, but I'm just trying to. I can't get any. I
know. At one point in my career, I was going to go back to Montclair State and I was going to help coach the secondary, and I would have taken a pay cut from what I was making in high school.
Really, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't say. It's hard to see what. Yeah, you really can't find that info. That's a tough.
Maybe it's a secret.
Well, I'm sure it is. Although Mount Union is a private school, that might be why.
Right. See, that might be a different factor too.
Wisconsin Whitewater is not, though.
No, because it's a state school.
He gets. What does he got? He gets. Good question. I wonder what he gets.
Look at a state school here, like now. Look at like Rowan. Is Rowan a private university?
Rowan is.
So then, what about we'll do like a SUNY Cortland.
SUNY Cortland. Here it says private. Football. Men's football. Men's football. That's interesting. I'm looking it up right now, and I don't think I find. By the way, Wisconsin Whitewater's football team actually loses money.
Loses money?
Yeah.
Well, listen. I think I read a stat the other day that there's only I want to say maybe 10 or 12 athletic programs in the entire country that make money. Majority of them don't make anything. Colorado's making money.
I probably have to go to Wisconsin's employee fund or something to figure this out.
You'd have to go to their actual
definitely public record, but I'd have to dig. To get that. Not something I can find in 2 seconds while we're on. So that was a really good podcast, good stuff. It was definitely interesting.
Running backs coach. She's got it. I mean, shit.
No doubt.
I mean, listen, she learned from some of the best. So, I mean, you know what I mean? That transition is definitely, she started at a high level or whatever, and then, kind of transitioned to that. I'm just curious to see where it takes her,
Is Diaz the DC there, or he's just a position coach?
No, I think he's the DC.
Cool.
That's our
guy. All right, well, let's get rolling until next time. This is a good podcast. Really good stuff. Very interesting stuff.
All right. Next time.
Make sure you check out myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo. If you're a 2024 guy, if we get to October and you're not on, we're not.
You need to get there, man.
Time is ticking. Time is ticking. We will see you all soon, and till next time.